Some letters arrive too late, some warnings go unheeded, and some promises are broken before they are even made. This is a story about all three. The rain had started at 11:47, precisely when Eleanor Walsh sat down at her antique typewriter. She noticed the time because her granddaughter Sophie had died at 11:47 on a Tuesday night 28 years ago. Some numbers you never forget. Some moments brand themselves into your bones. Eleanor's hands trembled as she loaded the paper. 72 years old, arthritis in every joint, but her mind remained sharp as broken glass. Through the window of her Victorian house on Harborview Lane, she could see the Thorne estate across the manicured lawn. String lights hung in their courtyard. Music drifted through the October air. Laughter, the kind of careless laughter that comes from people who have never known real suffering. But in the corner of that courtyard, barely visible through the rain, knelt a small figure. A child, 7 years old, maybe 8. Thin nightgown soaked through, mud streaking her pale arms, clutching something to her chest. A stuffed animal worn and loved. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. She had seen this before. Different child, different house, same scene. The typewriter keys felt cold under her fingers. She began to type. Mr. Thorne, I am Eleanor Walsh, your neighbor at 247 Harborview Lane. I am writing with a trembling hand and a heavy heart. Your daughter Emma is being severely mistreated in her own home. Each word was a small act of rebellion. Each sentence a promise she had failed to make decades ago. I have witnessed her forced to kneel outside in rain for hours. I have heard her crying through the walls late at night. Last night she collapsed on your front porch. The memory came unbidden. Sophie's face, 8 years old, bruises hidden under long sleeves. Eleanor had seen them, had known, had done nothing. Not this time. I made a mistake once. A little girl died because I stayed silent. I will not let that happen again. The words blurred slightly. Eleanor blinked hard. Please return home before it is too late. She pulled the paper from the typewriter, folded it carefully, sealed it in an envelope with hands that had suddenly stopped shaking. On the front, she wrote in large, clear letters, Marcus Thorne, urgent, confidential. On the desk beside her sat a framed photograph, not of Sophie. That photograph had been buried with her daughter Rebecca, who had died of grief 2 years after Sophie. This photograph showed a different child, a boy, 12 years old in the picture, dark eyes, serious expression. Bradley, Eleanor's son. She touched the frame gently, then stood. The rain had intensified. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and stepped out into the October night. The mailbox stood at the end of her driveway, a cast-iron relic from another era. Eleanor walked slowly. Her hip ached in the cold. She could feel the weight of the letter in her hand. One small envelope, one last chance to do the right thing. Headlights cut through the rain. A black sedan pulled up beside hers. The window rolled down. William Sterling, the Thorne family butler, 55 years old, military posture, cold eyes. Mrs. Walsh, he said, his voice carried no warmth. Out late? Eleanor held the envelope against her chest. Just posting a letter. To whom? The question hung between them. Rain drummed on the car roof. That's my business, Mr. Sterling. William's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Mrs. Thorne wouldn't want Emma's discipline misunderstood by outsiders. Is that a threat? A courtesy. He smiled without humor. Good evening, Mrs. Walsh. The window rolled up. The sedan drove away. Eleanor stood in the rain for a long moment. Then she opened the mailbox and dropped the letter inside. The metal door clanged shut with a sound like a prison gate closing. Or opening. She couldn't be sure which. Back in her house, Eleanor walked to her study, locked the door, pulled out a phone. Not her regular phone, a different one. Untraceable. She typed a message. The letter is sent. Everything is in motion. 3 dots appeared. Then a response. Excellent, Mother. I'll prepare for his arrival. This changes nothing. We stay on schedule. Eleanor stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted the entire conversation and powered down the phone. Through the window, she could still see Emma kneeling in the courtyard. The party continued inside. No one came for the child. No one even looked. Eleanor picked up her regular phone and dialed 911. What is your emergency? I need to report child abuse. 249 Harborview Lane. A little girl. She's been outside in the rain for over an hour. Can you describe what you're seeing? A child, approximately 7 years old, forced to kneel on cobblestones in 45-degree weather, soaking wet, no adult supervision. I'm dispatching officers now. Can you stay on the line? No, Eleanor said quietly. I've done what I needed to do. She hung up. Across the ocean, in a glass tower overlooking Lake Zurich, Marcus Thorne stood at floor-to-ceiling windows and watched the sun set over the Alps. The office behind him was pristine. Minimalist furniture, two computer monitors displaying stock tickers and portfolio balances, a single photograph on his desk. Emma, 5 years old in the picture, gap-toothed smile, holding a pink teddy bear, sitting on her mother's lap, Catherine. Marcus hadn't looked at that photograph in 3 months. His phone buzzed, a text from Victoria, his wife. Marcus, Emma's asking about you again. She misses her daddy. When are you coming home? He typed a response without much thought. Big merger closing Friday. Tell her I love her. We'll bring Swiss chocolate. The response came quickly. She doesn't want chocolate. She wants you. Marcus stared at the message. Then he put the phone down and returned to his monitors. The merger with Hoffman Industries would net Thorne Capital $400 million. 400 million reasons to stay focused. 400 million justifications for missing his daughter's bedtime. Again. The door opened. Sarah Mitchell, his assistant, entered with her usual efficiency. 33 years old, sharp suit, sharper mind. She had been with Marcus for 6 years, through Catherine's illness, through the funeral, through everything after. Marcus, your 2 p.m. with UBS is confirmed. She paused. Also, this arrived by courier, marked urgent. She placed an envelope on his desk. Worn paper, no postage, hand addressed in shaky script. Marcus picked it up. Who sent it? Courier said an elderly woman in Boston, paid cash, insisted it reach you today. Marcus turned the envelope over, his name written in unfamiliar handwriting. He opened it. The letter was typed on an old typewriter, the kind with keys that left impressions in the paper. He could feel them under his fingers as he read. Mr. Thorne, I am Eleanor Walsh, your neighbor at 247 Harborview Lane. Marcus's pulse quickened. He knew that address. The old Victorian next to his estate. Your daughter Emma is being severely mistreated in her own home. The words seemed to blur. Marcus blinked. Read again. I have witnessed her forced to kneel outside in rain for hours. I have heard her crying through the walls late at night. Last night she collapsed on your front porch. His hands began to shake. I made a mistake once. A little girl died because I stayed silent. I will not let that happen again. Please return home before it is too late. The signature, Eleanor Walsh. Marcus stood abruptly. The chair rolled back and hit the window with a dull thud. Sarah looked up, alarmed. Cancel everything, Marcus said. What? Cancel everything. The UBS meeting, the merger closing, all of it. Book me on the next flight to Boston. Marcus, the merger is worth $400 million. If you're not there to sign, I don't care. His voice was flat, dead. Book the flight. Marcus, what's wrong? He didn't answer. He was already dialing home. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times. Victoria answered on the 4th ring. Her voice was bright, cheerful, too cheerful. Marcus, what a wonderful surprise. Where's Emma? A pause, barely perceptible. At school, darling. It's 2 p.m. here. Wednesday. I need to talk to her. When she gets home, I want to FaceTime. Of course. Is everything all right? I'm coming home. Tonight. Silence. Then carefully at tonight. But the merger. Forget the merger. I need to see Emma. Marcus, you're scaring me. What's wrong? He looked down at the letter in his hand. The words seemed to pulse. Mistreated. Crying. Collapsed. Nothing, he said. I need to come home. Well, that's wonderful. I'll prepare your favorite dinner. Emma will be so excited. Something in her voice, too smooth, too practiced. Victoria, has anyone heard Emma? The silence stretched. Hurt her? Victoria's laugh sounded wrong. Marcus, what are you talking about? Who would hurt her? Answer the question. Of course not. Marcus, where is this coming from? I'll be home by midnight. We'll talk then. He hung up before she could respond. Sarah stood in the doorway watching him with concern. Marcus, what's happening? He handed her the letter. She read it quickly. Her face went pale. Oh my God. Get me on a plane. Now, and Sarah. Call Jackson Wells. Tell him I need him. Tonight. Sarah nodded and left. Marcus stood alone in his office. Through the window, Lake Zurich sparkled in the afternoon sun. Beautiful. Peaceful. A world away from whatever was happening in his house. He pulled out his phone and opened his photo gallery. Scrolled back, found a video from 2 months ago. Victoria had sent it. Emma at the piano, playing a simple melody. She looked thin in the video, thinner than he remembered, and when she finished playing, she glanced off camera before smiling at the lens. The smile looked forced. How had he not seen it? Marcus closed the video, opened another folder. These photos were older, from before Catherine died. Emma at 3, Emma at 4, Emma at 5. Always smiling, always bright, always with Catherine. The last photograph in the folder had been taken in the hospital. Catherine in bed, pale, weak, cancer eating her from the inside. But her eyes were clear when she looked at the camera. Emma, 5 years old, sleeping in a chair beside the bed. Catherine wore a gold locket around her neck, heart-shaped, old. Marcus remembered that conversation. It played in his mind like a film he'd seen too many times. Promise me something, Catherine had whispered. Marcus had leaned close. Anything. Promise you'll always put her first. Not work, not deals. Her, always. I promise, I swear it. Catherine had reached up with trembling fingers and touched the locket. Give this to Emma. Tell her mommy's love lives inside it. Forever. I will. A father's promise is forever, Marcus. Don't forget that. She had died 6 hours later. Marcus had given Emma the locket at the funeral. The 7-year-old had held it like a talisman, had worn it every day. Did she still wear it? Marcus couldn't remember. Couldn't remember the last time he'd really looked at his daughter. Couldn't remember the last conversation they'd had that wasn't interrupted by a phone call. His phone buzzed. Sarah, flight booked, Logan Airport, arrives 11:30 p.m. Jackson Wells will meet you there. Marcus typed back a thank you and began packing his briefcase. His hands moved automatically. Laptop, charger, files. But his mind was elsewhere. Your daughter is being severely mistreated. Who would hurt Emma? Victoria had seemed perfect when they met. A nurse, gentle, kind. She had cared for Catherine in her final weeks, had shown such compassion. Or had she? Marcus tried to remember. The details felt slippery. Victoria had appeared at the hospital 6 months after Catherine's diagnosis, a new addition to the palliative care team. She had been professional, attentive, and after Catherine died, Victoria had sent flowers, a condolence card. Then 3 months later she had called, just checking in, seeing how Emma was adjusting. They had coffee, then dinner, then more dinners. Marcus had been grateful. Emma had taken to Victoria immediately, called her Miss Vicky, smiled when she was around. Or had she? The memories were clouding, shifting. Marcus couldn't trust them anymore. He grabbed his coat and left the office. The elevator descended 47 floors in silence. The lobby of the building was marble and glass, austere, cold. Outside, Zurich was beautiful in autumn, leaves turning gold, air crisp, tourists photographing the lake. Marcus saw none of it. At the airport, he boarded the plane in a daze. First class, a window seat. The flight attendant offered champagne. He declined. She offered something to eat. He declined. She left him alone. The plane lifted off. Zurich disappeared below. Marcus pressed his forehead against the window and tried not to think about what he would find when he landed. Across the Atlantic in Boston, the afternoon sun cast long shadows across Emma's elementary school playground. She sat alone on a bench beneath an oak tree. Other children ran and shouted and played. Emma watched them with the detached interest of someone watching television. In her lap sat a pink teddy bear. The bear had seen better days. One eye was missing. The fur was matted in places. A seam along its side had been carefully stitched and restitched. Emma ran her fingers over that seam. Inside the bear, hidden in the stuffing, was a small notebook. The notebook had been a gift from Mrs. Walsh 3 months ago. "Write everything down," the old woman had said. "What happens, when it happens. Evidence is important, Emma." At first, Emma hadn't understood, but then Victoria had locked her in the basement again, and Emma had understood perfectly. The notebook now contained 3 months of careful documentation, written in a 7-year-old's handwriting, but detailed, precise. June 3. Victoria locked me in basement 6 hours because I asked about Daddy. June 10. Victoria pulled my hair and said Daddy doesn't love me anymore. July 15. Victoria made me kneel on rice for 2 hours. August 22. Victoria said accidents happen to little girls who talk too much. The entries went on, page after page. Emma's small act of rebellion. "Emma," she looked up. Mrs. Anderson, her teacher, stood nearby. 40-something, kind eyes, worried expression. "Don't you want to play?" Emma shook her head. "Sweetheart, you used to love recess. What changed?" "Nothing." Mrs. Anderson sat down beside her. "Emma, if something's wrong at home." "Nothing's wrong." Emma said it too quickly, too forcefully. The words Victoria had taught her. "Everything's fine. Victoria's very nice." Mrs. Anderson reached out gently. "May I see your wrist?" Emma's sleeve had ridden up. A bruise showed, purple and yellow, the shape of fingers. Emma pulled her sleeve down. "I fell." "That's a lot of falling. This is the 3rd bruise this month." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Please don't tell. Please," Victoria said, "if anyone finds out, Daddy will send me away forever. I'll never see him again." "Emma, that's not. Please, oh." Emma stood up. The teddy bear fell. She grabbed it and clutched it to her chest. "I'll be good. I promise. Just don't tell." She ran. Mrs. Anderson watched her go. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed a number she'd hoped never to use. "Child Protective Services. How can I help you?" Inside the school, Emma found an empty bathroom, locked herself in a stall, sat on the toilet lid, and hugged her bear. Around her neck, hidden beneath her shirt, hung a gold locket, heart-shaped, old. She pulled it out and opened it. Inside was a photograph, a tiny picture of a woman with kind eyes holding a baby. "Mommy." Emma touched the photograph with one finger. "I miss you," she whispered to the locket. "I miss you so much." The locket didn't answer. It never did. But Emma liked to pretend it could. Liked to pretend that somewhere, somehow, her mother was watching. "Daddy's coming home tonight," Emma said. "Victoria told Mr. William. They're planning something. I'm scared." She closed the locket and tucked it back under her shirt. Then she pulled the notebook from inside her teddy bear, added a new entry. October 18, Wednesday. Victoria found out I told Mrs. Lee about the basement. She was very mad. She said tonight will be my last chance to learn. I'm scared. Daddy's coming home. If something happens to me, Daddy should know I love him. And I'm sorry I wasn't good enough. Emma stared at the words. Then she carefully tucked the notebook back into the bear and restitched the seam with trembling fingers. The bell rang. Recess was over. Emma washed her face and returned to class. At 6:47 p.m. Boston time, Marcus's plane touched down at Logan International Airport. The cabin lights came on. Passengers stood and retrieved luggage. Marcus waited until everyone else had deplaned. Then he walked through the terminal like a man moving through water. Jackson Wells was waiting outside baggage claim. 45 years old. Gray threaded through his dark hair. Sharp eyes that missed nothing. He wore jeans and a leather jacket. No longer FBI, but he still moved like an agent. They had been roommates at MIT 20 years ago. Brothers in everything but blood. "Marcus?" Jackson's voice was grave. "Tell me everything." Marcus handed him the letter. Jackson read it standing in the middle of the terminal while travelers flowed around them like a river around stones. "Jesus Christ," Jackson said finally. "When did you get this?" "This morning, in Zurich. And you flew back immediately?" "Wouldn't you?" Jackson folded the letter carefully. "Yeah, I would." He looked at Marcus, really looked at him. "You ready for this?" "No." Good, that means you're thinking straight. Jackson started walking toward the parking garage. I need to tell you something. 5 years ago, I had a case, similar situation. Wealthy father, new wife, young daughter. Father traveled constantly. Wife was abusing the kid. Marcus felt cold. What happened? By the time I got enough evidence, it was too late. The girl died, subdural hematoma from being shaken. Wife claimed she fell. They reached Jackson's car, a black SUV, nondescript. He unlocked it and they climbed in. I've lived with that failure every day since, Jackson said. He started the engine but didn't put the car in gear. So when you called, this isn't just a case for me, Marcus. I won't let another child die. Emma's not going to die. You don't know that. You don't know what's been happening in your house. Marcus closed his eyes. Then let's go find out. They drove north, out of the city, through suburbs that grew progressively wealthier, past gates and walls and manicured lawns. The houses here weren't homes. They were estates, monuments to success. Marcus's house sat on the edge of Boston Harbor, a Victorian mansion built in 1892. He had bought it 6 years ago as a gift for Catherine. She had loved old houses, had spent months restoring it, choosing paint colors, hanging curtains, making it a home. She had died in the master bedroom on the second floor. Marcus hadn't changed anything after her death, couldn't bear to. The house remained a shrine to Catherine's taste, her choices, her love. Now it felt like a mausoleum. They pulled up to the iron gate at 11:52 p.m. The estate was lit like a cruise ship, every window blazing. Music drifted from the courtyard. Laughter. Voices. They're having a party, Marcus said. At midnight, Marcus pressed the intercom button. No answer. He pressed again. Still nothing. Through the gate, he could see figures moving. Elegant dresses, suits, wine glasses catching the light. And in the corner of the courtyard, barely visible through the rain that had started falling again, a small shape. Marcus's vision tunneled. The world reduced to that one spot, that one figure. Emma, kneeling on wet cobblestones. Nightgown soaked through, clutching her teddy bear, mud streaked across her face and arms. His daughter, his baby girl, kneeling in the rain while adults partied 30 feet away. Something inside Marcus broke. He climbed the gate. Jackson shouted something, but Marcus didn't hear. Didn't care. He dropped to the other side and ran. The courtyard was exactly as he remembered it. Cobblestones imported from Italy, string lights Catherine had chosen, flower beds she had planted, all of it surrounding the small figure in the center. Marcus reached her and dropped to his knees. Emma. She looked up. Her eyes were unfocused. Her lips had a blue tinge. Hypothermia. She had been out here for hours. Daddy? Her voice was a whisper, confused, like she wasn't sure he was real. Marcus wrapped his coat around her and lifted her. She weighed almost nothing. Too light. How had he not noticed? How long had Victoria been starving her? Emma shook in his arms. Her skin was ice cold. I'm here, baby. I'm here now. I tried to be good, Emma whispered. I'm sorry. You have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing. The music stopped. Marcus turned. The party guests had noticed him. A crowd was forming, and in the center, wineglass in hand, stood Victoria. She wore a red dress, diamond earrings, perfect makeup. She looked like a woman who had never had a cruel thought in her life. Their eyes met across the courtyard. Victoria's wineglass slipped from her fingers. It fell in slow motion, hit the cobblestones, shattered. Red wine spread across white stone like blood. The sound seemed to echo forever. Then silence. Every guest frozen. Every eye on Marcus and the shivering child in his arms. Everyone out, Marcus said. His voice was quiet, deadly calm. Now. No one moved. I said, get out. The guests scattered. Within seconds, the courtyard was empty. Only Victoria remained. And standing in the doorway, watching with cold calculation, was Nathan Cross, Marcus's CFO, his best friend since college. And beside Nathan, briefcase in hand, stood Bradley Chen, Marcus's attorney. Three people who should have been family. Three people who had let this happen. Marcus carried Emma toward the house. Victoria stepped in front of him. Marcus, darling, you're home early. This is just a misunderstanding. Emma was being disciplined. She spilled wine on Nathan's jacket, and I couldn't let... Shut up. Victoria's smile faltered. Marcus, you don't understand. Children need structure, need consequences. I said shut up. He pushed past her, carried Emma into the house. The warmth hit him like a wall. How long had she been outside? 3 hours, 4? He laid her on the sofa in the living room. She wouldn't let go of him. Her small fingers clutched his shirt. Don't leave, please don't leave. Never again, Marcus said. He looked into his daughter's eyes, saw fear there, real terror. A father's promise is forever, Emma. Forever. Something fell from Emma's arms. The pink teddy bear. It hit the floor and a small notebook slid out from a torn seam. Marcus picked up the notebook, opened it, page after page of careful writing. Dates, times, what Victoria did. June 3. Victoria locked me in basement 6 hours. July 15. Victoria made me kneel on rice. August 22. Victoria said accidents happen to little girls who talk too much. Marcus's hands started shaking. Victoria entered the room. She saw the notebook. Her face went white. Marcus, I can explain. Pack a bag. His voice was dead, empty. 10 minutes, then you leave my house. This is my house too. We're married. Not for long. Victoria's mask slipped. For just a moment, Marcus saw what was underneath. Cold calculation. Rage. Then the mask was back. You're making a mistake, she said softly. Emma needs discipline, structure. She's wild, uncontrolled. I've been trying to help. You tortured my daughter. I taught her respect. Get out, now, before I do something we'll both regret. Nathan stepped forward. Marcus, buddy, you don't understand. Victoria was just... Don't! Marcus stood. He was 6'2". Nathan was 5'10". Marcus had never used his size to intimidate. Until now. Don't say another word. You saw my daughter kneeling in the rain. You were at that party, you saw, and you did nothing. Nathan stepped back. Bradley Chen approached. Cool. Calculated. Mr. Thorne, as your attorney, I advise you to calm down. Making threats could be used against you. You're fired, Marcus said. Effective immediately. Get out. Bradley's smile was thin. You're making a mistake, Marcus. You don't know everything that's happening here. Then enlighten me. Not yet, but soon. Bradley picked up his briefcase. Enjoy your reunion. It won't last. He left. Nathan followed. Victoria stood alone in the living room, her perfect facade cracking. You'll regret this, she said. Emma will tell you, I was only trying to help. Marcus said nothing, just stared at her until she left. Jackson appeared in the doorway. Ambulance is here. 2 paramedics entered. They checked Emma's vitals, wrapped her in thermal blankets, lifted her onto a stretcher. We need to take her to Mass General, one said. Hypothermia, possible dehydration. We'll need to run more tests. I'm coming with her, Marcus said. Are you her father? I am. The paramedic looked at Emma's condition, at the bruises on her arms. Sir, we're mandated reporters. We have to call Child Protective Services. Call them. Call everyone. I want everyone to know what happened here. They loaded Emma into the ambulance. Marcus climbed in beside her. As the doors closed, he looked back at his house. Standing on the porch next door was an elderly woman. Gray hair, hunched shoulders. She watched the ambulance with an expression Marcus couldn't read. Eleanor Walsh, their eyes met. She nodded slowly. Marcus nodded back. Then the ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing, lights flashing, racing toward the hospital and whatever came next. Inside the ambulance, Emma opened her eyes. Daddy? I'm here. Are you going to leave again? Marcus took her small, cold hand in his. No, never. A father's promise is forever. Forever? Her voice was so small. Forever and ever, baby. Forever and ever. Emma closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Marcus held her hand and watched the city lights blur past the window. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled. The storm was just beginning. Behind them in the Thorne estate, Eleanor Walsh stood at her window and watched the ambulance disappear. Then she pulled out her phone, the untraceable one, typed a message. He came home. The girl is safe for now. 3 dots appeared. Good. Let him think he won. Tomorrow we begin phase 2. Eleanor stared at this message for a long time. Then she typed, he loves her. This changes things. The response came immediately. Nothing changes, Mother. We've come too far. The plan proceeds as scheduled. Eleanor deleted the conversation, powered down the phone, looked at the photograph of Bradley on her desk. I'm sorry, she whispered to the picture. I'm so sorry. Outside, the rain fell harder, washing away the wine, washing away the blood, washing away everything except the truth. And the truth was this. Some promises are made to be broken. Some children are saved too late. And some monsters wear the face of angels. Marcus Thorne was about to learn all 3 lessons, the hard way. The emergency room at Massachusetts General Hospital smelled of antiseptic and fear. 2:30 in the morning, the fluorescent lights hummed their mechanical lullaby. Somewhere down the hall, a child was crying. Not Emma, some other child, some other tragedy unfolding in the dark hours when most people slept. Marcus sat beside his daughter's bed and watched her breathe. In, out, the rhythm steady, alive. He had not let go of her hand since the ambulance. Could not let go, as if his grip alone could anchor her to this world, to safety, to him. Derlisa Chen moved through her examination with practiced efficiency. 40-something, tired eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She had seen too much in this job. Broken bones and cigarette burns, bruises shaped like adult hands on child-sized bodies. The architecture of cruelty mapped onto innocent flesh. She documented everything. Photographs, measurements, notes in careful medical language that would later become evidence. Jackson Wells stood by the door, silent, watchful. His FBI training never really left him. Even retired, he still saw the world in terms of threats and evidence and crimes waiting to be solved. Dr. Chen finished her examination, closed her tablet, looked at Marcus with an expression that said she was about to deliver news no parent should hear. Mr. Thorne, your daughter's core temperature when she arrived was 92 degrees Fahrenheit. That's stage 2 hypothermia. Another hour and we would be having a different conversation. The words landed like stones in still water, ripples spreading outward into dark implications. The contusions on her arms and legs show various stages of healing. This one here, she pointed to Emma's rib cage, a yellowing bruise the size of a fist. 3 weeks old, and these marks on her wrists, classic restraint patterns from being held down or tied. Marcus felt his vision narrow, tunnel down to that one spot, that bruise. 3 weeks ago, he had been in London, meeting with hedge fund managers, discussing quarterly projections, while his daughter was being held down, restrained, hurt. How long? His voice came out wrong, strangled. Dr. Chen met his eyes, did not look away. Based on the injury patterns and healing stages, I would estimate this has been ongoing for 4 to 6 months. 6 months, half a year, 180 days of torture while he flew around the world closing deals. I'm required by law to report this to Child Protective Services, Dr. Chen said. Not apologizing, just stating fact. Do it. Report everything. She nodded and left. The door closed with a soft pneumatic hiss. Emma stirred, her eyelids fluttered. Opened. For a moment she looked confused, disoriented. Then her eyes found Marcus and something in her face relaxed. Daddy? I'm here, sweetheart. Am I in trouble? The question broke something inside him. Some last wall he had been holding up through sheer force of will. What? No, baby, why would you think that? Victoria said if anyone found out, you'd be angry, that you'd send me away because I'm too much trouble. Marcus leaned close, took both her small hands in his. Emma, listen to me very carefully. None of this is your fault. Do you understand? None of it. But I broke the plate, and I spilled the wine, and I was too loud. Stop. His voice was gentle but firm. Those are accidents. Kids have accidents. That's never a reason to hurt someone. Never. He reached for the gold locket around her neck. Catherine's locket. Emma still wore it. At least Victoria had not taken that. Marcus opened the tiny clasp. Inside, the miniature photograph. Catherine holding baby Emma, both smiling, both gone now in different ways. You know what your mommy made me promise before she died? Emma shook her head. She made me promise to always put you first. And I broke that promise. I left you alone with someone who hurt you. I'm so sorry. It's okay. No, it's not okay, but I'm making you a new promise now. He held the locket so she could see her mother's face. A father's promise is forever, Emma. From this moment on, you are the most important thing in my world. Emma's eyes filled. Forever? Forever and ever. They held each other. This father and daughter who had both been lost, both been abandoned, both been saved just barely in time. The door opened. Detective Maria Santos entered. 50 years old, kind face weathered by decades of seeing humanity at its worst. She carried a digital recorder in an evidence bag. Mr. Thorne, I need to take Emma's statement. Marcus looked at his daughter. She nodded. I want to tell, Emma said quietly, so it doesn't happen to anyone else. Detective Santos pulled up a chair, sat at Emma's eye level, professional but warm. Emma, can you tell me about Victoria? How she treated you? Emma was quiet. Then she began. At first she was nice. When Daddy married her, she smiled and bought me ice cream and took me to the park. When did that change? When Daddy started traveling. She said I was the reason he left, that I reminded him of Mommy dying, that he wished I died instead. Marcus made a sound, could not help it. She got mad at little things, spilling, being loud, asking about Daddy. And when she got mad, Emma's voice got smaller. She'd lock me in the basement, sometimes for hours. In the dark, I was so scared. Detective Santos wrote carefully. What else? Sometimes she wouldn't let me eat, said I was getting fat, that Daddy wouldn't love me if I was fat. Emma paused. One time she made me kneel on rice. My knees bled. She said that's what happens to bad girls. The room was silent except for pen on paper. Then Emma did something unexpected. She reached for the pink teddy bear beside her pillow, the worn one with the missing eye. She pulled at a loose thread. The seam opened. From inside, she extracted a small notebook. I wrote it all down, Emma said. She handed it to Detective Santos. Mrs. Eleanor told me to. She said evidence is important. Santos opened the notebook. Her expression changed. Page after page of careful child's handwriting. Dates, dimmies. What happened? June 3. Victoria locked me in basement 6 hours because I asked about Daddy. July 15. Victoria made me kneel on rice for 2 hours. August 22. Victoria said accidents happen to little girls who talk too much. The entries continued. Months of systematic documentation. A 7-year-old building a case against her abuser. Emma, Santos said slowly, you wrote all this yourself? Yes, Mommy always said tell the truth, but Victoria said I couldn't tell Daddy. So I wrote the truth, so someone would know. Santos looked at Marcus. This notebook is critical evidence. Whatever you need. Santos stood. I'll be back. I need to make some calls. After she left, Jackson moved closer. That neighbor, Eleanor Walsh, she told Emma to document everything? That's what Emma said. That's strange. Why tell a child to write it down but not report it herself? Why wait months to send you a letter? Marcus frowned. Maybe she needed proof first. Maybe. Jackson did not sound convinced. Or maybe there's something else going on. Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang. Nathan Cross, Marcus, please, I need to talk to you. I have nothing to say to you. 5 minutes, please. There are things you need to know about Victoria, about all of this. Marcus looked at Emma. She had fallen asleep again. Exhausted, safe for now. Where are you? Your office, Thorne Capital. Please, Marcus. Marcus hung up, looked at Jackson. Stay with her. Police guard outside. Don't let anyone in. Where are you going? To hear what my former best friend has to say. The drive to the financial district took 15 minutes through empty streets. Boston sleeping while Marcus's world collapsed. Thorn Capital rose 47 floors above the harbor. Glass and steel and ambition made manifest. Marcus had built this company from nothing. 15 years of 18-hour days, missing Catherine's doctor appointments, missing Emma's school plays, building an empire while his family crumbled. For what? The elevator rose in silence, opened on the 47th floor. Nathan sat in Marcus's office, in the dark, staring out at city lights. Thank you for coming. Marcus did not sit, just stood in the doorway. Uck. Nathan stood, turned. He had been crying. I'm sorry. God, Marcus, I'm so sorry. I saw what Victoria was doing and I said nothing. I'm a coward. You're more than a coward. Yes. Nathan's voice broke. You're right. So explain. Make me understand. Nathan walked to the window, put his hand against the cold glass. Her real name isn't Victoria Ashford. It's Jennifer Stokes. She has a criminal record, fraud, identity theft. She targeted you, Marcus, from the very beginning. The floor shifted beneath Marcus's feet. 2 years ago, she approached me, said she had a plan to access your fortune. She needed someone on the inside, someone you trusted. The words hung like poison gas. Rachel's cancer came back. Stage 4, experimental treatment, not covered by insurance. $800,000. Nathan's voice was barely audible. I was desperate. So you sold me out. I thought it would just be money. We'd take some, replace it later. No one would know. I didn't know she'd hurt Emma, I swear. But you found out, and you did nothing. Nathan turned, tears streaming. She said if I exposed her, she'd make sure I went to prison. Rachel would die alone. I told myself it was just discipline, that you'd be home soon, that Emma would be fine. And Emma almost died tonight. Nathan sank into a chair. I know. Marcus wanted to hit him, wanted to scream. Instead, he just stood there, numb. Who else is involved? Bradley. Bradley Chen, your attorney. He's her partner, maybe her brother. I'm not sure, but they're connected. Bradley. He forged your signatures, transferred $47 million over 6 months. Small amounts you'd never notice until the audit. When's the audit? Next month. By then they'd be gone, with Emma, with the money. Nathan looked at the floor. Marcus, I think they were planning to kill you. Silence. Just the hum of building systems. Climate control, security, all the invisible machinery keeping this tower running. Where's Bradley now? I don't know. He's been paranoid since you came home. Wanted to accelerate the timeline, crash the stock before you could stop them. Nathan stood, pulled an envelope from his jacket, set it on Marcus's desk. That's my confession. Everything I know. Dates, amounts, bank accounts. This doesn't make it right. I know, but maybe it helps you stop them. Marcus picked up the envelope. Get out. Marcus, get out before I forget we were ever friends. Nathan left. Marcus sat alone, opened the confession, read Nathan's careful documentation. Page after page of betrayal. His phone buzzed. Jackson. Marcus, get back here. Detective Santos found something. Something big. Marcus drove back to the hospital, his mind racing. Victoria was Jennifer. Bradley was involved. 47 million stolen. Murder planned. How deep did this go? At the hospital, Jackson had commandeered a conference room. Files spread across the table. Detective Santos was there, and someone new. A woman in a dark suit, federal agent written all over her. Marcus, this is FBI Special Agent Susan Torres. Torres stood, shook his hand, firm grip, all business. Mr. Thorne, we've been investigating Jennifer Stokes for 8 months, not your case specifically. Something much larger. She opened a file, spread photographs across the table. 14 different men, different cities, different ages, and all wealthy. 8 had red marks across their faces. Deceased. Jennifer Stokes is part of a criminal network. They target vulnerable, wealthy individuals, usually widowers with children. They infiltrate as wives or staff, then systematically drain assets. In some cases, they eliminate the target. Marcus stared at the photographs. How many victims? 27 operations over 15 years, 8 confirmed murders. 6 survived but lost everything. The rest are still being investigated. Who runs this network? We don't know. We call them the architect. Whoever they are, they're smart, careful. We've never gotten close. Until now? Until now, we need Jennifer and Bradley. They're high level. If we can flip one of them, we can take down the entire network. Jackson leaned forward. There's more. I did some digging. Bradley Chen used to be Bradley Walsh. The name meant nothing to Marcus. So? Walsh, like Eleanor Walsh, your neighbor who wrote the letter. Everything stopped. Are you saying? I'm saying we need to talk to Eleanor right now. They drove to Harbor View Lane, 4:30 in the morning. The street dark except one house. Eleanor Walsh's Victorian. Every light blazing. Marcus knocked, heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. The door opened. Eleanor stood there, gray hair loose, but her eyes sharp, alert. She had been expecting them. Mr. Thorne, Mr. Wells, Detective Santos, Agent Torres. She looked at each in turn. I wondered when you'd figure it out. Please, come in. The house smelled of old wood and lavender. Photographs everywhere, but not of Sophie, the dead granddaughter Eleanor had mentioned. Of Bradley Chen, baby pictures, school photos, college graduation. Bradley at every age. Bradley smiling. Bradley serious. Bradley alive and real in Eleanor's. Marcus picked up a frame, stared. That's Bradley at 12, Eleanor said. She had moved to an armchair. Sat like a queen. Smart boy. Always was. Bradley Chen is your son. Bradley Walsh is my son. He changed his name for his legal career. Thought Chen sounded more professional. She smiled without warmth. It worked. Jackson stepped forward. You're the architect. Eleanor tilted her head. That's what the FBI calls me. Yes, dramatic. I prefer to think of myself as someone who balances scales. Agent Torres had her hand near her weapon. Eleanor Walsh, you have the right to remain silent. Not yet, Agent Torres. Sit. All of you. Let me tell you a story. Then you can arrest me. Something in her voice. Command. Authority born of decades making hard choices. They sat. Eleanor folded her hands. Began to speak. 28 years ago, I had a granddaughter, Sophie, 8 years old. Her stepfather abused her. I saw the bruises. Called the police 3 times. Do you know what they said? No one answered. They said Mr. Mitchell is a respected businessman. We need more evidence. So I gathered evidence. Medical records, photographs, witness statements. Her voice never wavered. Clinical. Detached. His lawyers buried everything. Expensive lawyers. Because money talks. Money protects. Money lets monsters hide behind respectability. Sophie died. Internal injuries. Her stepfather served 18 months. Out in 10 for good behavior. My daughter Rebecca killed herself from grief. I lost everything. Eleanor stood, walked to a cabinet, pulled out a folder, set it on the table. So I decided to become what the system refused to be. Justice. I found people like Bradley, smart, angry, hungry. I taught them how to infiltrate wealthy families, how to steal, how to make it look legitimate. We targeted men. Some were abusers, some were just convenient. 27 operations over 15 years, $340 million total. 8 targets died when they discovered the truth, made to look like accidents. She sat again, calm, unrepentant. The money, I distributed it. Battered women's shelters, child advocacy groups, lawyers who defend abuse victims. Robin Hood for the 21st century. Marcus found his voice. You're insane. I'm practical. The law doesn't protect children, Mr. Thorne. So I do. Detective Santos stood. By torturing Emma? The mask cracked. Just for a moment. Pain flickered across Eleanor's face. That was never supposed to happen. Jennifer was only meant to marry you. Transfer money slowly, then leave. Clean, simple. No one hurt. But Jennifer has demons. Foster care. Multiple abusive homes. When she saw Emma's privilege, something broke. She started projecting her own trauma, taking revenge on a child for having what Jennifer never did. Eleanor looked at Marcus, really looked. I told her to stop, multiple times. She wouldn't listen. Said Emma needed to learn suffering. That's when I wrote the letter. To bring you home. To stop Jennifer before permanent damage was done. Before permanent damage? Marcus stood, fury breaking through shock. She has hypothermia, months of abuse. She documented it because she thought no one would save her. But she's alive. Eleanor's voice was ice. Sophie isn't. The room erupted. Santos reading rights, Torres on her phone, Jackson restraining Marcus. Eleanor just sat, waiting. I'm 72 years old, she said over the chaos. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 6 months to live. Maybe less. Everyone stopped. I'm dying and I'm tired. But before I go, I want to do one last thing. I want to help you stop Jennifer and Bradley. Agent Torres stared. Why would you do that? Because Jennifer went too far. Hurting Emma crossed a line. We were supposed to punish abusers, not become them. Eleanor looked at Marcus. I'm offering you a deal. I testify against them. Give you every name, every account, every operation. In exchange, I get immunity. I die at home, not in prison. You hurt my daughter and you want immunity. I brought you home to save her. Without my letter, you'd still be in Zurich. Emma might be dead. That's worth something. Silence. Jackson pulled Marcus aside, whispered urgently. She's dying anyway. 6 months, and her testimony takes down the entire network. Saves future victims. Isn't that worth it? Marcus closed his eyes, saw Emma's face, heard her voice. I wrote it all down so someone would know. What do you want me to do? Eleanor asked. Marcus opened his eyes. I want Jennifer and Bradley in prison. Forever. Then we work together. I'll tell you exactly where they'll be, when they'll run, and you'll catch them. Torres stepped forward. How do you know their plans? Because I'm their exit strategy. They think I'm helping them escape. Bradley called me 2 hours ago. They have a private plane, Logan Airport, tomorrow night, 11 p.m. to Grand Cayman. You were going to help them? I was going to betray them, just like I'm doing now. The difference is now I have federal protection. Eleanor stood, walked to Marcus. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I'm offering you justice. Real justice. Not just for Emma, for all 27 victims. For Sophie, for every child the system failed. Marcus looked at Torres, at Santos, at Jackson, at this woman who had built a criminal empire on the graves of dead children. If this is a trap, then I'm a foolish dying woman. But Mr. Thorne, I'm not lying. I want to stop. I want my son to face what he's done. And I want to do one good thing before I die. Torres pulled out her phone. I need DOJ approval for immunity. Make the call, Marcus said, but I'm there when they're arrested. Done. The next hours passed in controlled chaos. Federal prosecutors on conference calls. Immunity agreements drafted. Eleanor providing details. Flight numbers. Account passwords. Names of 17 other operatives. By dawn, the trap was set. Jennifer Stokes and Bradley Chen thought they were escaping. They were walking into the largest sting operation in FBI history. Marcus returned to the hospital as sun broke over Boston Harbor. Emma was awake, eating breakfast. She smiled when she saw him. Daddy, you came back. I'll always come back now. Emma looked worried. Is Mrs. Eleanor okay? How did you explain to a 7-year-old that the kind neighbor was a criminal mastermind? She's sick, very sick, and she did some bad things, but she also helped us stop Victoria. Is Victoria going to jail? Yes, tonight. We're going to make sure she never hurts anyone again. Emma was quiet. Then, Daddy, I don't hate Victoria. I'm scared of her. But I don't hate her. Marcus stared at his daughter. Mrs. Eleanor told me hurt people hurt people. That Victoria was probably hurt when she was little too. That doesn't make it okay. But it makes it sad. 7 years old, tortured, and still capable of compassion. Your mother would be proud of you. Emma touched the locket. I talk to Mommy sometimes in here. I told her you came home, that you kept your promise. Marcus pulled her close. A father's promise is forever. Forever and ever? Forever and ever. His phone buzzed. Torres, target confirmed. Jennifer Stokes arrested at safe house. Bradley Chen still at large. Airport operation proceeds as planned. Be ready at 2200 hours. Marcus showed Jackson. One down, Jackson said. One to go. Marcus looked at Emma. Safe, healing, alive. Tonight they would end this. Tonight justice would be served. And tomorrow he would start building a different life. One where Emma came first. Where promises were kept. Where fathers were present. A father's promise is forever. And Marcus Thorne intended to keep it. The trap was set. The players in position. In 12 hours, Bradley Chen would walk into Logan Airport thinking he was escaping. Instead, he would learn that some crimes have no statute of limitations. Some debts must be paid. And some children have fathers who will move heaven and earth to protect them, even if they have to burn down empires to do it. Marcus Thorne was ready to burn. The autumn sun set early in October. By 6 in the evening, darkness had settled over Boston like a blanket. Marcus stood at his office window on the 47th floor and watched the city lights blink on one by one. Below him, people were going home, having dinner, living normal lives. He envied them. His phone buzzed. Agent Torres, all units in position. Target expected at Logan by 2200 hours. Are you ready? Marcus typed back. Ready. He was not ready, not even close. But ready or not, tonight would end one way or another. Either Bradley Chen would be arrested and this nightmare would have some measure of closure, or Bradley would escape and Marcus would spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, wondering when the other shoe would drop. Jackson appeared in the doorway. Car's here. Time to go. Marcus grabbed his coat, took one last look at his office, this place he had built, this monument to ambition. It felt hollow now, empty. All the money in the world could not buy back the 6 months Emma had suffered while he was chasing deals. They rode the elevator down in silence, climbed into an unmarked FBI vehicle. Torres was driving, 2 other agents in the back, everyone armed, everyone tense. Nervous? Torres asked as they merged onto the highway toward Logan Airport. Terrified, Marcus admitted. Good, that means you understand what's at stake. They drove through Sumner Tunnel, emerged on the airport side. Torres took a service road that bypassed the main terminals. They parked in a restricted area near Terminal C. Federal vehicles everywhere. Agents in plain clothes pretending to be travelers. TSA officers who were really FBI. The entire airport had been turned into a trap. Torres led them to a mobile command center, a van full of monitors and communications equipment. Inside, a dozen screens showed different angles. Gate C7, security checkpoints, baggage claim, every exit covered. Jennifer Stokes posted bail this morning, Torres said. She pulled up a photograph on one screen. Jennifer in handcuffs being released from Suffolk County Jail. Bradley paid $500,000 cash. She went straight to a hotel in Southie. We've had eyes on her since. Where is she now? Marcus asked. In a car, heading this way. Should arrive in 20 minutes. Torres switched to another screen. Bradley is harder to track. We lost him after he left your building last night, but Eleanor called him 3 hours ago. Told him to meet her at gate C7 before his flight, to say goodbye. And he believed her? He's her son, and he's desperate. People make mistakes when they're desperate. Marcus knew that better than anyone. The minutes crawled. Marcus watched the screens, watched travelers moving through the terminal. Families, couples, business people, all of them oblivious to what was about to happen. 2200 hours approached. 10 p.m., 1 hour before the scheduled flight to Grand Cayman. Torres's radio crackled. Target 1 approaching Terminal C, female. Blonde, designer luggage. On screen, Jennifer appeared. She looked different from the woman Marcus had married. Hair shorter, no makeup, nervous energy in every movement. She kept looking over her shoulder, checking her phone. She cleared security, moved toward the gates. Target 1 at gate C7, the radio said. Jennifer sat down, pulled out her phone, started typing. Another screen showed a text message being intercepted. Jennifer to Bradley. I'm here. Where are you? No response. Marcus felt his pulse quicken. Minutes passed. Jennifer kept checking her phone, looking around. getting more agitated. Then Torres's radio crackled again. Possible target 2, Asian male, 30s, gate B entrance. The camera zoomed. Bradley Chen, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. Casual clothes, trying to look like any other traveler, but Marcus recognized him. The walk, the posture, the way he carried his briefcase. That's him, Marcus said. Torres spoke into her radio. All units stand by. Do not engage until both targets are together. Repeat, do not engage. Bradley moved through the terminal. He was not going to gate C7. He was going the opposite direction, toward gate B17, a different flight. He's not meeting Jennifer, Jackson said. He's leaving her. Torres cursed, grabbed her radio. Target 2 is splitting. Adjust positions. Team Alpha, stay on target 1. Team Bravo with me on target 2. The command center erupted, agents moving, plans changing. The trap was falling apart. What about Eleanor? Marcus asked. Torres pulled up another screen. Eleanor Walsh sitting at gate C7 in a wheelchair, oxygen tank beside her, looking frail, dying. She was staring at Jennifer. Jennifer was staring back, neither approaching the other. She lied, Marcus said. Eleanor lied. She told Bradley to come, but she knew he wouldn't. She wanted him to run. Why? Because she's his mother, and she can't watch him get arrested. Torres made a decision. We take them both, now, before they reach their gates. Move, move, move. On the screens, agents converged, casual travelers suddenly showing badges, guns appearing, passengers screaming and running. Jennifer saw them first. She stood, looked for an exit, but agents were everywhere. She was surrounded in seconds, hands behind her back, cuffs clicking. Bradley was harder. He saw the agents and bolted, ran through the terminal, people diving out of his way. He was fast, desperate. He vaulted over a check-in counter, agents pursuing. Marcus watched on screen, heart pounding. Bradley was getting away. He was going to escape. Then another figure appeared, moving to intercept. Gray hair, leather jacket. Jackson Wells. Jackson had left the command center, was in the terminal, and he was putting himself directly in Bradley's path. Jackson, no, Marcus breathed. But Jackson was committed. Bradley saw him too late, tried to dodge. Jackson tackled him. They went down hard, briefcase flying, contents spilling, money, passports, documents scattering across the polished floor. Agents swarmed, pulled Bradley up, cuffed him. Jackson stood slowly, favoring his left side, but alive, whole. Torres exhaled. We got them, both of them. Marcus sagged against the console. It was over. On screen, Bradley was screaming something, struggling against the agents, his face contorted with rage. Then he saw a camera, looked directly at it, as if he knew Marcus was watching. His mouth moved. Marcus could not hear, but he could read lips. This isn't over. Torres turned off the screen. Yes, it is. They brought Bradley and Jennifer to separate holding cells at the FBI field office. Marcus wanted to see them, wanted to confront them, but Torres said no. Any contact could compromise the case. So Marcus went back to the hospital. Back to Emma. She was asleep when he arrived. Jackson sat beside her bed. He had a bruise forming on his left cheek, but was otherwise fine. You tackled him, Marcus said quietly. Someone had to. You could have been hurt. Jackson shrugged. I've had worse. Besides, this one mattered. Marcus sat on Emma's other side, watched her sleep. Peaceful, safe. Tomorrow she would wake up in a world where Victoria and Bradley were in custody, where the nightmare had an ending. Not a happy ending. Not yet. There would still be a trial, testimony, months of legal proceedings. But an ending nonetheless. Emma stirred, opened her eyes. Daddy? I'm here. Did you catch the bad people? Yes, all of them. Emma smiled, small but real. Good. She went back to sleep. Marcus stayed, held her hand, made silent promises to a God he was not sure he believed in anymore. Promises that if Emma could heal from this, he would never fail her again. Never choose work over her. Never leave her alone. A father's promise is forever. And this time, he would keep it. The trial began 6 weeks later. Federal courthouse in downtown Boston. The prosecution had built an overwhelming case. Financial records, testimony from Nathan Cross, Eleanor Walsh's complete cooperation, and Emma's notebook. That small spiral-bound journal filled with a child's handwriting, evidence that could not be argued away or explained. Marcus sat in the courtroom every day, front row. He wanted Bradley and Jennifer to see him, to know that he was watching, that he would not let them escape justice. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The prosecution called 47 witnesses, bank managers, forensic accountants, FBI agents, each one adding another brick to the wall of evidence. But the most powerful testimony came on day 9. Emma took the stand. She was so small up there, 7 years old in a chair meant for adults. Her feet did not touch the floor. She wore a blue dress, Catherine's locket around her neck, the pink teddy bear clutched in her arms. The judge had cleared the courtroom of everyone except essential personnel. No cameras, no press, just the jury and the lawyers and Emma's voice in that quiet space. The prosecutor was gentle. A woman in her 50s named Rebecca Stone. She had prosecuted child abuse cases for 20 years. She knew how to talk to traumatized children. Emma, can you tell the jury about Victoria? Emma nodded, looked at Marcus. He smiled, nodded. She took a breath. She was nice at first. When Daddy married her, she played games with me and read me stories. But then Daddy went away for work, and Victoria got mean. Can you tell us what she did? She locked me in the basement, lots of times, sometimes for hours. It was dark and I was scared. What else? She wouldn't let me eat, said I was too fat, that Daddy wouldn't love me anymore if I got fat. Emma's voice was steady, strong. She had practiced this with the victim advocate, had learned to tell her story without breaking. She made me kneel outside, even when it was cold or raining. She said I needed to learn respect. Stone picked up the teddy bear from the evidence table. Emma, what's special about this bear? Mommy gave it to me. Before she died, she said Mr. Cuddles would always protect me. And what's inside Mr. Cuddles? My notebook, where I wrote what Victoria did. Mrs. Eleanor told me to write it down. She said someday it would matter. Stone showed the notebook to the jury. Let them see page after page of careful documentation. Emma, why did you write all this? Because Mommy said always tell the truth. But Victoria said I couldn't tell. So I wrote it, so someone would know. The jury was crying, several of them, openly weeping as they looked at this small, brave girl who had documented her own torture. Jennifer's lawyer tried to cross-examine, to poke holes in Emma's story, but there were no holes. Everything Emma said matched the medical evidence, the photographs, the timeline. Finally, he gave up, sat down, defeated. Emma left the stand, walked to Marcus. He picked her up, carried her out of the courtroom. She buried her face in his shoulder. You did so good, he whispered. So good, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. Can we go home now? Soon, very soon. The next day, Eleanor Walsh testified. She looked worse than she had 6 weeks ago. The cancer was eating her alive. She needed a wheelchair now, oxygen continuously. Her voice was weak, but her mind remained sharp. She told the jury everything. The 27 operations, the $340 million, the 8 murders. She named names, showed bank accounts, provided documentation that the FBI had been seeking for years, and she explained why. My granddaughter Sophie was murdered by her stepfather. The system failed her, failed my daughter, failed me. So I decided to become what the system refused to be, justice for the powerless. And Emma Thorne, Stone asked, was hurting her justice? Eleanor's face crumpled. For the first time, emotion broke through. No, Emma was a mistake, a terrible mistake. Jennifer was supposed to steal money, not hurt a child. When I found out what she was doing, I wrote to Marcus. I brought him home. I saved Emma. But you also built the network that put Jennifer in that house. Yes, and I will carry that guilt to my grave, which is coming soon. Eleanor looked at Marcus. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want the record to show that I tried to stop it. When I realized what was happening, I acted. That has to count for something. Marcus said nothing, just stared at this woman who had orchestrated his family's destruction while claiming to protect children. Eleanor turned back to the jury. I'm dying. 6 months ago, the doctor said 6 months. I have maybe 6 weeks left now. I will never see the outside of a hospital room again. My punishment is coming. But Bradley and Jennifer, they need to face human justice. That's why I'm here. She coughed. Blood flecked her lips. The judge called a recess. Eleanor was wheeled out. She passed Marcus in the hallway, stopped, looked up at him. Your daughter is extraordinary, she said. She has more courage in her small body than I had in my entire life. Protect that. Nurture it. Don't let the world make her hard. I don't need advice from you. No, you don't. But I'm giving it anyway. One last act of presumption from a dying woman. She was wheeled away. Marcus never saw her again. Eleanor Walsh died 3 weeks later. Peacefully, in her own bed, she had negotiated that much at least. A death at home instead of in a cell. The trial concluded the next day. Closing arguments. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. The verdict came at 8 p.m. The courtroom was packed. Marcus held Emma's hand. She had insisted on being there for this part. The jury foreman stood, a middle-aged man with kind eyes. In the case of the Commonwealth versus Jennifer Stokes, count 1, child abuse. How do you find? Guilty. Emma squeezed Marcus's hand. Count 2, aggravated assault. How do you find? Guilty. Count 3, false imprisonment. How do you find? Guilty. On and on. 6 counts. Guilty on all. Jennifer sat motionless, face blank, already gone somewhere else in her mind. Then Bradley's verdict. In the case of the Commonwealth versus Bradley Chen, count 1, Mom, conspiracy to commit fraud. How do you find? Guilty. 8 counts total. Guilty on all, including conspiracy to commit murder. Bradley stood, looked at the jury, at the judge, at Marcus. You think this is over? He shouted. You think you've won? I will appeal. I will fight. And when I get out, I will finish what we started. Emma will never be safe. Never. The bailiffs grabbed him, dragged him from the courtroom, his voice echoing. You hear me, Marcus? Never safe. Never. The door slammed. Silence. Emma looked up at Marcus. Is that true? Will he come back? Marcus knelt down, eye level with his daughter. No, he's going to prison for a very long time, and you will be safe, I promise. A father's promise? Forever and ever. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Jennifer Stokes received 25 years. No possibility of parole for 20 years. Bradley Chen received 30 years. No possibility of parole for 25 years. Nathan Cross, who had cooperated fully, received 8 years. Eligible for parole in 5. Marcus watched them led away. Jennifer looked back once, caught his eye, mouthed 2 words, I'm sorry. Marcus did not respond. Sorry was not enough, would never be enough. But it was something. 6 months passed. Winter turned to spring. Emma went to therapy twice a week. Slowly, carefully, she began to heal. The nightmares came less often. The flinching stopped. She started to smile again. Real smiles, not the forced ones she had learned to perform for Victoria. Marcus sold Thorn Capital, the company he had built for 15 years, sold it for $890 million, kept enough to live comfortably, put the rest into a foundation. Emma's Haven, they transformed the North Shore estate, tore down walls, painted everything bright colors, yellow, blue, green, the colors of childhood, the colors Victoria had forbidden. They built a playground in the courtyard where Emma had once knelt in the rain. Swings and slides and monkey bars, a trampoline, a sandbox, places for children to play and be loud and be joyful. They converted the bedrooms into smaller rooms, each one designed for a child who needed safety, needed refuge, needed someone to believe them. Grace Kim became the medical director, Jackson Wells the security chief. Carmen Rodriguez, the housekeeper who had found the USB drive, became the child advocate. Sarah Mitchell ran the foundation board. And Eleanor Walsh's house next door? They bought it, converted it into a therapy center, painted over the dark history, made it into something good. Emma's Haven opened on a Saturday in June. Sunny, warm, perfect. 30 children arrived that first month, from foster care, from abuse situations, from homes where no one believed them. They came scared and broken and hurting, and slowly they began to heal. Marcus watched it happen, watched Emma blossom in this environment. She had been so isolated, so alone. Now she was surrounded by children who understood, who had survived, who were learning that survival was not the end, that there was life after trauma. On Emma's 8th birthday, they had a party at the Haven, all 30 children, staff, volunteers. Marcus had not thrown Emma a party since Catherine died, had not known how. But this he could do. Emma blew out her candles, made a wish, smiled. Later, Marcus asked her what she wished for. That every kid could feel as safe as I do now, she said. Marcus pulled her close. We're working on it, sweetheart. 5 years passed. Emma turned 12, grew taller, started middle school, made friends, joined the soccer team, lived a normal life that looked nothing like those 6 months of hell. Emma's Haven expanded. 2 more locations, one in Cambridge, one in Worcester, 90 children total across the 3 sites. Success stories emerging. Kids getting adopted. Kids reuniting with safe family members. Kids learning to trust again. The foundation through a gala. 5 years of Emma's Haven. 500 guests, donors and volunteers, and success stories. Emma was invited to speak. She stood at the podium in a blue dress, 12 years old but composed, confident, strong. My name is Emma Thorne. When I was 7, someone hurt me, someone I was supposed to trust. For a long time, I thought it was my fault, that I deserved it, that if I was just better, quieter, more perfect, it would stop. Her voice carried across the silent ballroom. But it wasn't my fault. And if you're watching this, if someone is hurting you, it's not your fault either. You deserve safety. You deserve love. You deserve to be protected. My daddy came home. He saved me. And then he did something even more important. He didn't just save me. He built a place to save others. Emma looked at Marcus, smiled. A father's promise is forever. That's what my daddy tells me. And he's kept that promise every single day for 5 years. Now I want to make a promise too, a survivor's promise. I promise to fight for kids who can't fight for themselves, to believe them when no one else does, to be the voice I wished I had when I was 7. A survivor's promise is forever too. Standing ovation, 500 people on their feet. Marcus was crying, could not help it. His daughter, his brave, extraordinary daughter. After the gala, they returned to the Haven. Emma wanted to check on the new arrival, a 6-year-old boy named Tommy, scared, bruised, not speaking. Emma knocked gently on his door. Tommy, it's Emma. Can I come in? No response. Emma entered anyway, sat on the floor, not too close, giving him space. I know you're scared, Emma said softly. I was scared too when I first got help. I didn't think anyone would believe me. I didn't think I deserved to be saved. Tommy looked at her, eyes wide, wary. But you know what I learned? Everyone deserves to be saved, especially kids. We're not supposed to handle grown-up problems. We're supposed to play and learn and be happy. Emma pulled out her pink teddy bear, the one with the missing eye, Mr. Cuddles. She had kept him all these years. See this bear? My mommy gave him to me before she died. He's been through a lot, just like you, just like me, but he's still here and so are we. Tommy reached out slowly, touched the bear's worn fur. Will I be okay? He whispered. Yes, I promise, and I never break promises. Emma handed him the bear. You can keep him tonight. He'll protect you. That's what he does. Tommy took the bear, held it close, started to cry. Not scared crying, relief crying, the crying of someone who had been holding everything in for too long. Emma stayed with him until he fell asleep. Then she found Marcus in the hallway. He's going to be okay, she said. Because of you. Because of all of us. That's how it works. We save each other. They walked through the Haven together, past rooms where children slept safely, past the playground where laughter echoed during the day, past the walls covered in drawings. Bright, hopeful, alive. "Daddy," Emma said, "do you ever think about Victoria?" Marcus was quiet. "Sometimes. Do you?" "Sometimes. I try not to hate her." Mrs. Eleanor said hate is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. "I don't want to be poisoned." "That's very wise. I learned it from you. You don't hate them either. You just built something better." They reached the main entrance, the sign above the door, Emma's Haven, where every child finds light. Marcus remembered standing in this same spot 5 years ago, when it was just a courtyard where his daughter had suffered, when he had been blind and absent and failing at the most important job he would ever have, being a father. "Emma," he said, "I need to tell you something." She looked up at him, Catherine's eyes, Catherine's strength. "For a long time, I blamed myself for what happened, for not being there, for not seeing, for choosing work over you. Daddy, let me finish. I blame myself, and part of me always will. But I learned something. Guilt can destroy you or it can transform you. I chose transformation. I chose to build something that would make sure other kids didn't suffer alone. And that was the right choice. But the most important choice, the one that mattered most, was choosing to be present, every day, for you." Emma hugged him. "You kept your promise. A father's promise is forever. Forever and ever." They stood there in the warm June evening, father and daughter, survivor and protector, two people who had been broken and remade into something stronger. Inside the haven, children slept peacefully. Outside, the city hummed with life. And somewhere in the distance, the ocean whispered against the shore. Constant, eternal, unchanging. Some things are forever. Some promises are kept. And some children grow up to save others because someone saved them first. Emma Thorne was 12 years old. She had survived hell and emerged with her heart intact. She had documented her abuse with a child's careful handwriting. She had testified in court with a survivor's courage. And now she was building a legacy that would outlast all of them. Marcus Thorne was 43 years old. He had lost his wife to cancer and his daughter to neglect. He had built an empire and watched it crumble. He had learned that the only thing that truly mattered was love, presence, protection. A father's promise is forever. And Marcus Thorne had kept his. The lights of Emma's Haven glowed in the darkness. A beacon, a sanctuary, a promise fulfilled. Inside those walls, 90 children learned to trust again, to hope again, to believe that they were worthy of love and safety and happiness. And in the years to come, hundreds more would follow. Thousands. A movement born from one man's guilt and one girl's courage. This is how the world changes. Not with grand gestures or sweeping legislation, but with small acts repeated daily. With one child saved, then another, until the darkness recedes and the light spreads and everyone can say with certainty, a survivor's promise is forever too. Emma and Marcus walked inside. The door closed behind them with a soft click. Above them, stars appeared in the darkening sky. Below them, children dreamed safe dreams. And somewhere in whatever comes after this life, Catherine Thorne smiled. Because her family had survived. Because her daughter had thrived. Because a promise made at a deathbed 5 years ago had been kept in ways she never could have imagined. A father's promise is forever. Forever and ever. And in Emma's Haven on Harborview Lane in Boston, Massachusetts, that promise was kept every single day. The end, but also the beginning. Because this is what redemption looks like. This is what love looks like. This is what forever looks like. One child at a time. One day at a time. One promise at a time. Forever.